So, as I was saying about Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, it's undeniable that both of them are very talented fighters. Like, they're known for their talent and everything that they've accomplished in life. Like, both of them are undefeated. Obviously Crawford won titles in three weight classes, and in one of the weight classes he became completely undisputed. And if you look at Errol Spence has almost gotten to the point where he's unified the welterweight division, and historically the welterweight division is one of the most competitive weight classes in boxing. Like, it's always had all the greats in it. Like, for example, from Sugar Ray Leonard to Floyd Mayweather to Sugar Ray Robinson. I mean, the welterweight division is packed, and for him to dominate a weight class that well shows that he's a legitimate fighter, and he is one of the most talented fighters in the world. And for Terrence Crawford to accomplish what he's done over several weight classes is incredibly impressive. But one thing that needs to be said, despite both of their talents, I think one thing that's overlooked about both of them is the fact that both of them to some extent are survivors. If you look at Errol Spence, he came from a literal car crash when he came so close to dying. Like, if you look at the pictures on the graphics, you can see it. I mean, this guy was on the verge of death. Like, he was very close to dying. I mean, it is very fortunate that he didn't die. I mean, he was so close to it, and it just didn't happen. By the grace of God, it just did not happen. And the fact is, not only did he survive a car crash, he recovered, and he went on to fight Ugas, who beat Pacquiao. Ugas is a legit fighter, even though Spence beat him quite handily. Ugas is a legit fighter. He beat Pacquiao, and a lot of people thought that he beat Sean Porter as well. So Ugas is world class, and he's elite, and he definitely is, because he won a world title. And for him to beat him after he recovered from his car crash, and not only did he beat him, he beat Danny Garcia as well. And it didn't look like he had that much of a problem from the car crash. Like, don't get it twisted, he's not as sharp as he was when he fought probably Kell Brook and such, but generally speaking, he looked quite impressive in his performances against Danny Garcia, and obviously against Ugas as well. And this is him coming off a literal car crash that almost ended his life. So the fact is, Errol Spence is a survivor, and another fighter that's a survivor is obviously Crawford. Now, those that don't know, Crawford actually, if you don't know about this, he actually had a gun shot at him, and it actually hit his head. He had a gun shot at his head, and it actually managed to hit him, and he almost got into a position where he almost lost his life. I mean, that's how bad it was. That's how terrible it was. He was almost on the verge of dying. That's how terrible it was. So both of these men are fighters that have just been through it. Like, they both have been through absolute hell in their life. I mean, I'm not saying that they've had the hardest life or anything like that, but they've both been through crisis situations, and they've both survived it, and they've both gone on to become great fighters. So obviously, one factor when you look at fighters that are really talented, a factor that's usually overlooked is their heart, how tough they are. Like, especially for example, Mayweather's toughness doesn't usually get acknowledged because of the fact that because he's so good technically, it doesn't really get acknowledged. While a fighter like Pacquiao, who's going up against bigger fighters, and he's been in loads of firefights, and is quite an exciting fighter, his toughness gets more acknowledged than other fighters. A fighter like, for example, like Ricky Hatton, who's a blood and guts fighter, or Gatti, these are fighters that are known for their toughness because they display it. But when a fighter is so good, and slick and technical, like the likes of Errol Spence and Crawford, where they don't really need to show their toughness as much because they're so good. It shows, like, sometimes to gauge their toughness, you need to see how they deal with things outside of personal life, outside of boxing. And these are two instances that show that Errol Spence and Crawford are both survivors. They're not just born winners, they're survivors. I mean, to survive a gunshot to the head and then go on to become arguably the pound for pound number one fighter in the world, and to come from where he came from Omaha, Nebraska, and he had a really abusive childhood with his mother as well. I mean, it takes a very strong character to do that, and for Errol Spence to go from a literal car crash where his life almost ended, to go from that to becoming almost undisputed. Like he's got one fight left, and then he may be undisputed. I mean, these are very, very, not just talented fighters, but they're very mentally strong fighters. They're very like, you can't deny it. They're very tough. They're very tough fighters. They're people that have been through some crisis situations, and they've managed to come out the other side. So yeah, so that's just my thought. I just thought it's worth acknowledging that the fact that like, a lot of times you don't acknowledge how tough a fighter is, or how talented a fighter is, until you're in a position where you can actually see it. And obviously both of them have actually shown what they're actually made of in terms of dealing with crises. I mean, being shot in the head and surviving a car crash is no mean feat. It's something that's most people can't even survive that, yet these people have survived and gone on to accomplish what they have. So that's just my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think about everything that I've said? And I'm glad that these crisis situations haven't gotten in the way of us getting this fight. Hopefully we get it. It's not been done yet, but as soon as they get into the ring, I'm going to be really excited to see it. I'm glad that car crash never ended Spence's life, not just because of the fact, obviously it's a human life, which is worth more than a boxing fight, but I'm just glad that we can actually see this fight. I mean, we can see it because nothing actually got in the way of it happening. But at one point it looked like it was not going to happen. It actually looked like it looked like it was going to be one of them fights that, like the Lennox Lewis versus Riddick Bowe fight, or like a Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield when they're both in their prime, or like a Mayweather versus Pacquiao. It looked like it was going to be one of them fights, but thankfully it's going to happen. So that's just my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts below. Do you agree with what I'm saying, or do you think what I'm saying is nonsense? I think both of them are very strong-willed individuals, and I can't wait to see them fight each other. Peace.